The GallowgateShots podcast is sponsored by Tyre Spot, the North East's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. Tyre Spot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tyrespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the GallowgateShots YouTube and podcast channel. We are back with another match preview. This one is for the Arsenal game. It's on Saturday the 2nd of November. It's 12:30 p.m. kickoff at St James's Park. My name's Scott. I'm your host for this one, and this week I'm joined by Daryl, Andy and Nichol. Boys, Carabao Cup's out the way. We're in the quarterfinals. Let's turn our attention back to Premier League football.
Do we have to?
This one, it's on. We don't do too badly against Arsenal at home these days, so why not? Although, if we win this one, they'll probably never shut up about it, just like they did last year. So let's see what happens. This one's on TNT Sports for those of you who weren't successful in the ballot, or don't have a season ticket, or didn't get it on some dodgy C-ticket site or on a member of Wings or whatever the culprit box you're in. But Arsenal aren't doing too badly this season. They're third in the league on 18 points. That's with 5 wins, 3 draws and 1 defeat. They've scored 17 goals so far and they've conceded 10. Gives them a +7 goal difference. I think that was the same as Chelsea last week, because I don't remember having to change much of that. So, that's a good omen going into this week's game. And as always, I've got some commentator stats before we get into the discussion. So, like I said earlier, we're not doing too bad against Arsenal at home of recent time. We have won 2 of our last 3 Premier League home games against the Gunners, with 1 defeat I think in the middle of those 2, which is as many as our previous 19 at St James's combined, which was 7 draws and 10 defeats. A combination that wasn't in succession there. Arsenal lost this exact fixture 1-0 last season, and as I mentioned, some would say that they haven't shut up about it since. It's been 365 days, but they haven't lost consecutive away league games against Newcastle since their first 3 visits in the Premier League, and that was between the 94 and 96 season. Newcastle are winless in their last 5 Premier League games, 2 draws and 3 defeats. We all know about that, and I'm sorry for bringing it up. But we have lost the last 2 in a row. We last had a longer run without a victory in the August to September of 2022, where it was 6 in a row. Newcastle have lost their last Premier League home match 1-0 against Brighton, ending a run of 11 without defeat at St James's Park. That was also the first time we failed to score in 23 home league games. Failing to score at the weekend would be the first time we have drew a blank in consecutive home matches since February 2020 under a certain Mr. Stephen Bruce. And I am giving him his full first name there, just because I don't like to say the name he was commonly known of, so because we don't want to go back to that time. Arsenal have conceded 9 goals in their last 5 Premier League games, more than they had done in the previous 19 combined, which was 8. In those 5 games, they've shipped 2+ goals in 4 of those 5 games, as many times as they have in the previous 27. So, as long as William Saliba's still injured, could be in for a few goals. But let's talk about that. So then, Nichol, tell us all about Arsenal.
Yeah, so obviously you've said that they're doing well, and yeah, they are this season. They have had a few injury problems of late, mainly in defence. So they've had a bit of a disciplinary problem as well this season. They've had 3 red cards, 2 of them for kicking the ball away, Trossard and Declan Rice. And then Saliba was suspended for last week's game against Liverpool because of his last man denial of a goal scoring opportunity. Whether you thought it was or not, I thought it was, to be fair. But yeah, so Saliba looks like he's going to be back for against us on Saturday, because he played in the Carabao Cup in midweek. And going off Mikel Arteta's comments last night in his post-match press conference, it sounds like Gabriel Gabriel's injury that he came off with against Liverpool isn't as bad as they thought. So I think we might see that really good centre-back pairing, actually, at St James's on Saturday, Gabriel and Saliba. And then Ben White will probably return at right back, and maybe Timber on the left, because I know that Partey played at right back for them against Liverpool, because they were down to bare bones, and because they've got Calafiori out as well in defence. Moving into midfield, they haven't got Odegaard. He won't be there on Saturday, but obviously they've got Partey to go in that midfield alongside Merino. They've got Declan Rice, Martinelli. Saka's back as well, and he scored a really good goal last week against Liverpool. It was a bit of a trademark. Saka finished that one, and then it'll be Havertz up front again, I would imagine, playing that sort of false nine that they play, and then Jesus to come off the bench as an option. So obviously, really strong team. It's going to be a difficult game, but yeah, let's hope that the lads are up for it after the win against Chelsea.
Yeah, and let's hope they do. Obviously, you've mentioned a fair few players there, and one that we can't go without not mentioning, Andy, is one Mikel Merino, ex-Newcastle player.
Prince Mikel.
Homecoming, just a little bit. He's always had fun memories. He's always talked fondly of us, but let's hope he doesn't come back to home.
Well, to be fair, I think every former player talks fondly of former clubs, because otherwise they look like an absolute arse, don't they? But, yeah, I know what you mean. Well, I'm just glad I've managed to come out of the ice age there, so for being frozen for the past 5 minutes. Probably says a lot that no one realised. Says I just sitting here quietly. But yeah, Merino. I think he was one of these players. It was like just a ship in the night, just past us, and he was just amazing. He was here. It felt like he just basically turned up, played once, and then disappeared off into the sunset. Yeah. But we all loved him for what he was. He was that player that we used to get in the Mike Ashley era, where we would sign someone and it was like the one signing out of 8 that was like actually a good player, and then we all just adored him because he was actually half decent. I remember he scored a goal against Palace with his head, and then did he play against Swansea when the commentators were all raving about that?
Renato Sanchez.
Yeah, and Merino absolutely had his pants down for the whole game, and it was one of the most satisfying games ever to watch.
I think he's still in his back pocket somewhere, to be honest.
Somewhere, yeah. But yeah, with Merino, he obviously had a blinding few years at Sociedad. Went off to the Euros with Spain, scored a goal in the 120th minute in the quarter-final against Germany, if you remember it. And we all fell in love with him again. And then we saw he was going to Arsenal, and then we all kind of hated him again, because it's like, I'm not Arsenal, come on. But he fits perfectly in their team. He's been injured, but since coming back, he's played a part in every single game, started against Liverpool, which says a lot about how much Arteta rates him. And it'll be heartbreaking when he bangs the winner in a couple of days' time.
Yeah, he got a goal midweek as well, didn't he? In Europe as well, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, he's added that to his game quite a bit since going to Sociedad, getting the goals. But yeah, top player.
Yeah, it's funny. He was one of Graham Carter's good picks, because he had a good pick in him, but he also had a few stinkers.
Well, he had loads of good picks, but then we just didn't buy them, like bloody Luka Modric. That wasn't the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, Daryl, mate. Obviously, we all know what happened last season in the reverse fixture, with the Joe Willock controversy, and if we hadn't done that, they would have won the league. Obviously, they don't. It wouldn't have happened because they didn't get a shot on target. But Arsenal fans haven't shut up about it since. But and if you're watching, I don't care. Been 365 days, man. Get out of yourselves. But are you expecting a similar occasion going into this game, or do you think it's going to be a bit of a different tie, this one?
You know what it is? I'm a little bit apprehensive, because if it had been like a tea time game, then I reckon we would have had all day to get tanked up and get really up for it. And because it's the early game on a Saturday, I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen. I think the only positive that we have going into that is the fact that we beat Chelsea in the League Cup. So it's going to get everybody's going to be riding on the crest of a wave going into it. And you mentioned earlier that Arsenal have had their weaknesses and their struggles in terms of the amount of goals they're shipping this year compared to this season, compared to what they have done last season and all that. And I think there's potential for weaknesses to be there, but a lot of it's going to come down to how we set up and how we perform. Not to jump the gun too much, but I think the central midfield position is the big talking point going into this game, and whether or not Eddie puts Bruno back in the middle, or does he stick with Sandro and leave Sandro in the middle of the three? And I think in terms of the occasion, I think, it's a big game. It's Arsenal. It's, one of the top 3 teams in the country at present. And, if anywhere it's going to be up for it, it'll be St James's on Saturday lunchtime.
It will, and it has become a bit of a bogey ground for Arsenal of late. Nichol, it's going to be tough for them, but they haven't yet bottled the league like they do of late. And I know Arsenal fans are going to come after me, something rotten this, but they haven't yet bottled the league this season. It'll come. Surely it'll come. Well, maybe they have actually. The third, so maybe they have bottled it. We don't know yet. But they could turn around and absolutely spank with the way we've been playing of late. So, it's a tough one to call, this one.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think Arsenal have got a bit more metal about them than they have had in previous seasons. You think back to that one on the last day of the season, they absolutely crumbled. I don't think that would happen again. I hope it does, but I don't think that will happen again. I think they're too sort of locked into trying to win the league, aren't they? They were very close to it last season. They want to do it this year, but to be honest, it's looking like Liverpool are going to challenge them a lot with Man City. So yeah, they'll not want to drop any points. And obviously, with it being the first game of the week, is it the first game? Yes, first game of the weekend. There's no Friday night game, so the first game of the weekend, they'll want to set their marker down and get 3 points. But obviously, we're going to be there. It's going to be a tough game for them. Every opposition manager always says how they don't really like going to Newcastle away. It's a hard game, so they'll be looking to try and keep the crowd quiet and get an early goal, probably, I would think, from their point of view. But it's obviously our job to keep them out as long as we can, and then try and hit them on the break, I would imagine, as well.
Yeah, and obviously I am only jesting, Arsenal fans. I'm not. No, I am. I'm not. I don't know. I don't know myself. Probably am a little bit. And if we talk about Newcastle, obviously we're coming off that result on when was it? What is it? On Wednesday night, where we've beat Chelsea. But obviously we are also coming off the result of the weekend. If you think about league form and cup form, 2 totally different things. It's a funny old thing with Newcastle. But Daryl's touching it a little bit with the middle of the park. We saw Tonali play in what's arguably his natural role, and he's absolutely shone on it. Yes, it was against, you could argue, a slightly weakened Chelsea side, but even a weakened Chelsea side is probably still a top 6 Premier League club because of the fact they've got 5 million players. Is it a decision for Eddie Howe to make where he thinks, okay, Joe Linton worked on the left, so I'm going to keep him on the left. I'll move Bruno to more of the right side of centre midfield, and we'll keep Joe Willock, and we'll let Tonali have that central role and be that maestro that he was against Chelsea? Or does he revert back to what he's known all along and played Bruno? Like, how do you do it? Or do you drop Bruno? It's a conundrum. He's the captain.
Oh, he said the magic words there.
Well, we've seen the best and worst of Newcastle against the same opposition over the past week, haven't we? Obviously, I think after the league game, we obviously went into full Newcastle fan mode where we all just went into complete depression cycle after a game that was pretty close and we played well in. It was just these last few weeks, we just haven't been putting those chances away. And the cup game we've just had, it just shows that you can play the risky style of football. You just got to put the ball in the goal at the other end, and it just changes the game completely. And I think Tonali was a big part of that metal we showed. I used the term metal for Arsenal, but I think we just need to get a bit of that back about us as well. Because if you remember the first full Eddie Howe season, we didn't really play blistering football all the time, especially the first half of the season. We were just grinding teams down, winning 1-0, winning 2-1. And grinding results out, and it just feels like that Chelsea game. Maybe it just gets the bit between the teeth again. Tonali was unreal the way he ran about the pitch. He was pushing people over, getting his foot in. I mean, he single-handedly created the first goal by sticking his foot in. A bit of help from Joe Linton, probably fouling the Chelsea player, but it's fine. So yeah, on the midfield specifically, I don't know whether that deeper position is Tonali's natural position, but he looks more natural there than Bruno does. and I don't think Longstaff can play there because I don't think he's got the technical ability. So I think you've got to give Tonali a go in that position. He's got more pace.
Yeah.
I think he is a bit more defensively minded, although he is a technician really. I would probably have Willock on the left hand side, Bruno on the right hand side, Tonali as the deeper player with Big Joe out left, because we were saying in the group chat earlier today, is there a player that plays on the left wing in the world that has Joe Linton's physical attributes? I don't think there is. I can't think of any. Just the ability to just basically breathe next to a fullback and get them to fall over. Actually, that actually happened in the Arsenal game last year, didn't it? So yeah, that's what I would do with the midfield, and I think I'd love to keep seeing Joe Linton on the left wing. He just offers so much physicality and power on that side, and Gordon looks great on the right, so I don't think we're really losing anything either.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking of what's he called, Traore for Fulham. Is
Yeah,
a
but
very
he's quite short, isn't he?
Pretty short, and he's greasy. And Joe
He's
Linton's
very greasy. Sweats baby oil.
I don't think you'll get a left winger that gets through the graft that Joe Linton does forward and backwards, though.
Absolutely not.
Because
Absolutely not.
the amount of work he put in against Chelsea in the Cup, actually in both games, to be fair, he was probably the better player down at Stamford Bridge as well, him and Dino. But the amount of graft he gets through, regardless of where he plays, is remarkable, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And just to touch back on Tonali, get him on set pieces. Stop letting Shaw take free kicks. Why is he taking? Get Tonali on set pieces. Why not? But yes, we saw last night how good he was at delivering the ball in the box. Just give him the ball every time. He was AC Milan, Italy's set piece taker. He's got a good. I hate using XG, but he's got good XG on set pieces for AC Milan.
If he's playing in the deeper position, he's probably tactically more likely to take the free kicks because he doesn't need to be further forward. So it makes, although I guess corners maybe not, but I think Dan says, doesn't he, that he takes them all for Italy.
Yeah, he took corners in the game against Chelsea, didn't he? Cup. So maybe it's the start of that.
Cup, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Well, I mean, there was him and Lewis Hall, Daryl, and that takes us onto the defence. Not maybe it's that position, because Lewis Hall, I think, has cemented his place and he's doing very, very well. Takes a little while to grow into games, but once he does grow into that game, he does extremely well, actually. But the centre-back position, Lloyd Kelly's performance last night has really not started to ask questions. I think it's really exposed, I think, how bad the centre-back pairing have been this season, because Lloyd Kelly's put himself about, gotten some pretty important blocks, but also I'm not saying it was a perfect performance last night, because he did make a couple of mistakes. Let's not paint him in a shining light for the entire 90 minutes, but he's really got Eddie Howe probably asking questions of who is my best pairing of centre back at the moment, because he's up there for me as starting tomorrow in terms of him and Fabian Schär. He's leapfrogged, and it's hard to do because he's 8 foot tall. He's leapfrogged for me in terms of that position.
I mean, the display against Chelsea has really asked questions about Eddie Howe there, and he made 2 crucial blocks in the game in midweek, and he denied a goal pretty much with one of them. So he certainly played himself into contention to start. I think he offers probably a little bit more mobility than Dan Burn does as well in that role, and we can all appreciate Dan Burn's will to play and to wear the badge and wear his heart on his sleeve, and the local lad link and all that. But there's just something about Lloyd Kelly's performance against Chelsea that he was able to move around in the position better. He's a little bit more pace to his game, so he can catch up, and that's the thing we're going to have to be careful with this Arsenal side. We're going to need pace in the back line to deal with their forward line, because their forward line can, it's electric. It can be up the pitch in a matter of passes. And Arsenal don't necessarily play a long ball. They will play through you, and they will use their pace to latch onto balls through the defence. So we're going to need pace. We're going to need a bit of intuitiveness and the ability to read the game. So you'll get some of that from Fabian Schär, but pace-wise, I think out of the current crop of defenders that are available, you're going to have your Tino and your Hall as your wing backs, or your left and right back who have the pace. But for centre back, if you need somebody with pace, it's going to have to be Lloyd Kelly, because Dan Burn doesn't have it. I think we've also said about how much we miss, just to bring him into the conversation, we miss Sven Botman, who isn't the quickest, but he has He has something up here, which means he can read the game better and he can make those interceptions. And I'm hoping he'll be back soon. But for the moment, I think it's that old cliche, isn't it? It's like, I'm glad I'm not Eddie Howe because I don't have to have this headache about making this decision. And it definitely applies, yeah.
just to jump in there, Daryl, as well with Saka, who you mentioned. When you watch him play, he doesn't really stay on the fullback either. He runs horizontally towards the centre back and then picks the ball up. So he's basically going to be up against the left centre back rather than the fullback for the game. So I'd rather that's Kelly than Burn, to be honest with you.
And to add to that as well, I think if you think about the last few games that we played against Arsenal, and it's been Saka versus Burn at left back, and Saka's had Dan Burn's life in those games at times.
Yeah.
I think in some of those games as well, it's been a case of he's had his life, and it sort of come as a bit of an initial shock to Dan Burn, and then he sort of reset and got himself back into the frame of mind. But it's evident, and all it'll take is for him to beat him once and to score a goal, and we're already in massive trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Is the only argument for Dan Burn, Nichol, to start is how well he does at winding up Kai Havertz when he used to play for Chelsea.
Yeah, they've had some good battles, them two, haven't they? But
they've had some good battles.
Yeah, obviously, as Daryl's just made a massive case there for Lloyd Kelly, and he did play really well yesterday. But I can only see him. If I'm guessing, it's going to be Dan Burn and Fabian Schär at centre half on Saturday, because I think that's what Eddie Howe will pick. I think Dan Burn has been, I would say he's been probably the best player of the season, which actually speaks volumes of where we've been at so far this season. So yeah, I think it'll go back to them two at the back, tried and trusted. But that's not to say that Lloyd Kelly, he's in with a shout, definitely, and he's caused no harm last night.
Maybe we're not quite ready for Lloyd Kelly. We'll see. Andy, up front, obviously there's an injury to Jacob Murphy. We're not quite sure how serious that is yet. But does that force Eddie Howe's hand in playing Anthony Gordon on the right, and then with that Joe Linton fill in the left hand position? Is that hand forced a little bit, or is that left?
You shouldn't need his hand forcing, Scott. His hand should be well and truly on the Anthony Gordon right wing.
I'm talking more about left hand side with Joe Linton and opposed to Harvey Barnes, or because you've got a player there as well who can maybe cut in and take some shots. But is it more the physicality than the defensive ability of Joe Linton that we're going to be relying on, as opposed to using Harvey Barnes for his finishing ability in front of goal? Because I think against Arsenal, this is Isak's these are the teams that he rubs his hands against and goes, I'm going to shine against these sort of teams. These are the teams I want to be playing against, and I'm going to be getting the ball, and I'm going to be running at these defenders because I want to show these are the teams I want to showcase myself. I want to be scoring goals against Arsenal and this sort of team. Not that he doesn't want to play against like the likes of Burnley or whatever, but the big clubs are the clubs that you want to be.
Yeah, the big players turn up in big games, don't they?
Yeah.
And I think I'll come back to Isak, but just on Joe Linton, because we've mentioned it already. I think in a game like this, we've seen how brilliant Arsenal are at set pieces. They've got weirdly there's this whole thing with set piece coaches now, and everyone knows who everyone's set piece coach is. But Merino ironically scored a great goal against Liverpool, unreal set piece delivery. They are probably the best set piece team in the league, them and Brentford. So Joe Linton, I think one of the reasons Howe never likes bringing Joe Linton off is because he's such a beast. I mean, he came on at right wing back at one point at Chelsea, went to right wing back, and I think he will play. And I think the way it was in that Chelsea game, I think Howe's got to just stick with what worked, which is Joe Linton on the left. Right hand side, if it is Joe Linton on the left, I think Gordon picks himself unless he's knackered. He should play there. You're right in what you say, as much as I take the mick. If Murphy is injured, then it's an option between basically putting Barnes on the left and Gordon on the right, or maybe putting Almiron in, who hasn't had much time, but I still think is a decent player. And then, just on Isak, I thought his finish against Chelsea, I don't think anyone really talked about it, but I think it was a great little finish, just ran onto it and just placed it. It's a proper instinctive finish. He's obviously had a few off moments. I mean, there was the Chelsea game where he just started doing skill moves on it in the box, like when you're 6-0 up on FIFA and just start spamming the stick around, just put it in the net. But I think it will click for him. people think there's something not quite right with Isak. I think it is just that he's just a bit fatigued and a bit tired because he's been forced to play through an injury and he's just trying to carry the whole team, the whole attack on his shoulders. So yeah, it's one of those games where if St James's is rocking and he gets a chance, I actually fancy Isak now to put it away after sort of getting the shackles off at Chelsea. So I think, yeah, keep the front three the same unless one of them's knackered, and then don't.
Absolutely.
Simple as that.
Well, let's turn our attention to the middle of the park and let's hope he gets it right this week, because he didn't last time, Daryl. Time for ref watch. So take this with a pinch of salt, because it might not be correct. No, I'm joking. Who we got in the middle of the park this
I thought
week,
we'd taken Daryl off ref watch.
No, never.
Nichol's already been talking about red cards.
So man in the middle for this game on Saturday lunchtime will be John Brooks of Leicestershire. It's his first Premier League game. It is. So it's his first Premier League game involving us this season. It's actually his second game this season. We saw him at the City Ground when we played Forest in the League Cup earlier in the season. He took charge of 3 of our games last season. It was the 2-0 loss at home to Liverpool, the 2-1 loss at home to Liverpool, the 3-1 win down at Villa Park, and also the 3-2 loss down at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea last season as well. His stats for last season, you've got 22 games refereed, 89 yellow cards and 4 reds. So far this season, we've got 3 Premier League games where he's issued 14 yellows and no reds. VAR for this one, correctly this time, is Jared Gillett, just like last week. So it's his second successive NUFC game on VAR after doing the game against Chelsea last Sunday. And also for Jared Gillett, he was the referee in another high-profile game for us this season. That was the 1-1 draw against Man City back in September.
So what's John Brooks's follicle situation?
I believe he has follicles.
Okay. Well, I think everyone has follicles.
he has some hair. He has.
Okay, right. Okay. Should be a good game then.
He says.
That's ref watch. You might want to check the NUFC website to see what their announcement is, to see if it's it is correct. Hopefully. Yeah, cheers, Daryl. Let's move on to our predictions, boys. Nichol, mate.
Yeah.
What are you going for?
I'm going for a Desmond 2-2.
Ooh.
Spicy.
I'm going for Arsenal goal scorers Saliba and Saka. Newcastle ones Isak and Gordon.
In that order?
I don't know. Whatever order these go. I think it'll be a good game though. It'll be a nice. It'll be a good, entertaining game. I'm hoping.
2-2. Okay, Daryl, mate, where are you going?
Well, I don't know. It's a tough one for me, and I think I'll have to put the pessimism hat on and say a 2-1 Arsenal win. To be fair, I feel like they might just have too much in the attack in terms of the pace and that, as we mentioned earlier. I think we'll probably see Isak on the score sheet again for us, and for Arsenal, I'll go with Saka, and to break everyone's hearts, Mikel Merino. Oh, I can't believe I said that. I really can't. I really can't believe I went with it.
Andy, where you go? I'm good now. Where you go?
I know, I don't want to talk. I mean, I'm just picturing Merino not even doing the whole hands up, I don't want to celebrate thing. He's going to fully knee slide towards the Gallowgate when he scores and everything.
Take his shirt off and just over the head.
Yeah, exactly. Just kisses the Arsenal badge or something.
Oh, God, that would kill us.
In the Gallowgate range. No, come on.
We'll just point at Daryl.
Yeah, exactly.
You were right.
He's not even gone. You point at Daryl.
What, like the Erling Haaland celebration when he like gets down on one knee and points. But no, Scott, I have no idea how to predict this. So I actually just asked a work colleague and they said we'll win 2-1. So I'm just going to say that because I have no idea how to predict this. I do think Daryl mentioned about the atmosphere. I do think the fact that we beat Chelsea in the way we beat them in terms of how good the high press was in the first half and showing that Eddie Howe ball that we've missed so much. If we can do that, the crowd will really be up for it. I think the first goal's massive in this game. If we go 1-0 up, you know what Arteta's like. They'll start getting riled up. Arsenal are so desperate to win the league that they do just kind of lose their head a bit sometimes. And And I think with us, our heads can drop equally just as quickly. So I think we'll get the first goal, and then we'll just see where it goes from there. But I have no idea how to predict this. If we turn up, we'll win. If we don't, then it'll be embarrassing. I know that's such a cop-out answer, but I just it's so hard to predict us and Arsenal.
Yes, Andy. Do you want some Ronseal for that fence?
Yeah.
Sorry,
I just don't want to get dragged in the comments like Joe does for a dial-up.
Just don't read them. That's what I do. No, we do read them. Comment below. No, it's Chris who reads them. It's fine.
Anyway, I said we'd win. It's better than these.
You did. Well, no, you didn't. Your mate from work said you'd win. You haven't said anything.
We'll get smashed 3-0.
I'm going to go. I think it'll be a 1-0 win. I think very similar to you, Andy. I think first goal is crucial, and I think we'll get it early. And it's going to be one of them horrible games where we'll get the first goal and we're just going to sit back. But I think taken from the game last night, we're going to play that very rigid and very regimented 4-5-1 that we saw, where it was literally one player from defence and midfield were kind of breaking forward to the player in possession and then coming back. And then when one player was out of position, a player would drop and cover the position. And it was very, very structured. And I liked what I saw last night when that was happening. So if we can play that game and not lose our heads a little bit and get that early goal, yeah, I'm going 1-0. What a 1-0 win. Just to rub some extra salt in those Gunnar tears.
Clean sheet against Arsenal.
Clean sheet against Arsenal. There you go. So yeah, I'm going 1-0. And I'm going to go for a Sandro Tonali free kick goal.
Whoa.
That's
Wow.
wow.
Sound of that.
Yeah.
We need to bring back some of our shit house as well for this game, I feel.
100%.
Yeah. Jason Tyndall's going to get sent off as well. That's how far I'm going. Jason Tyndall's going to go in his tracksuit. In this tracksuit. This is the hoodie, but in the tracksuit of a version of this that he loves to wear, that he wears every single week. He wears it well. Might not be washed and dried in time off Wednesday night, but he probably just watch it a week. Anyway, I'm sure he's got about 6 of them, which is why they're all sold out. Yes, let us know in the comments below what your predictions are, and let us know what you think, how you think the match is going to go. If you've enjoyed this video, while you are leaving your comment, click the little thumbs up button. And if you haven't liked it, I don't care. Don't hit the thumbs down. I don't care. While you are there, hit the subscribe button. And when you hit that button, a little bell will appear. And if you hit that, you'll receive a notification on your device of choice when we post new content on this video. And if you're looking for other content to watch, there was a match reaction that was posted just this morning. Nichol and Chris did that one. There's also, there's a match preview for Chelsea for the midweek. I don't know if you want to watch that again. The game's already been and gone, but that's there. There's always Smiling Faces podcast. Shh. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. There's always Smiling Faces podcast. There's Can You Chat, and there's all sorts on the channel. And if you're listening on audio, give a 5-star rating on whatever you're listening to. Spotify, Apple, Google. There's other ones as well. Whatever you're listening on, just give a 5-star and write a little review if you want. It all helps. And if you want to go one step further, you can become a member. It's $2.99 a month. That gets you early access to videos, gets you exclusive access to certain podcasts and content, as well as access to the Telegram group. Boys, I don't know. I'm kind of looking forward to this game now. I haven't been, but after talking to you lot, there's a little bit of hope in looking forward to this. And actually, after last night, I'm a little bit hopeful after the performance, after that regimented 4-5-1 that I've been talking about. I'm kind of hopeful about this one. So, come on, let's go and get some Gunnar tears and get the early kick off. Get my weekend not ruined for once. Yeah. Let's look forward to this one. We'll see you all in the next one. Have a good one. Ta-da.
Ta-da.